You set the timer.
All right, and I'm
We're
taking
good.
control. I was given the task of writing out my ideas, cutting them up, putting them in a jar, and taking them out. I didn't do that, but I did. I love writing my ideas, and my original intention, Jen, was to randomly pick one for you. But I came across an idea, came across it in my own mind. But
I love that.
I I just got so excited. I want to ask you this question. So I'm cheating
Yeah.
and I'm going to this one.
I mean, like, we make up the rules so we can change them, I think.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So if we wanted to push you towards an autistic meltdown as fast as possible,
Mm.
what would we do?
Oh my gosh, this is such a good question.
I know, right?
Are
Well,
you going to answer too? Like when I
I
answer? Okay.
could, depending
Oh,
on
okay.
time. The other thing I thought about is like maybe we should say what an autistic meltdown is before. I don't know.
I mean, I could describe it and like what
Okay.
would push me to it because
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know that everyone's meltdowns look the same.
Yeah.
So, um, okay. I mean, I can give a real life example of like
Okay.
almost arriving at a meltdown state. So I um had to go meet up with some people recently, and I was running a little behind because of just, I don't know, whatever stuff, and like at home, and I was getting frustrated with myself for not like having planned better. So then I get in my car and I'm driving, and I hit the the like the longest train of the day. Like
Oh.
right as the train's coming. So I'm like, okay, like I could have almost been there, but now I'm just like still sitting by the train. Okay, it's okay. We're fine. This is fine. And then going. And then there's some like construction detour on my route that I didn't expect. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like all the things that could possibly happen to like make me even later are
Mm.
happening. And then I get to the place and there's nowhere to park at all.
I
And
hate parking. I hate parking so
right.
much. But continue.
And I was like,
Oh.
oh my gosh, am I going to have to park like a block away and walk in this stupid 100-degree weather? And like it was just thing after thing that was unexpected that I did not give consent for that piled up. And I
Universe, I
was,
did not grant this.
I did not say okay. And I was seriously like 2 seconds away from texting you and being like, oh my God, I can't handle this. Talk me off the ledge. And like it was this magic moment of like as I turned the lane, a car was pulling out. I was like, I can park. But I don't know what would have happened if I couldn't find a parking spot, because I was
Yeah.
just like I was ready to call my people and be like, I can't come. Like there's no parking.
Yeah.
Everything is a mess. It's a disaster. So
Yeah.
I think all that to say, when a series of unexpected things collide and kind of stack up, when I have not had a chance
Mm.
to like recalibrate my expectations or recalibrate the energy that I need or the mental space that I need to deal with the situation,
Yeah.
that
And
that
you're just
is
getting compressed by time too. And like,
right.
yeah.
And then like anticipating the discomfort as the consequence of all those things, like the discomfort of if I had to walk a block
Oh,
in the
yeah.
heat when I wasn't prepared to, I wasn't wearing like clothes prepared to, I would get to the place
Yeah.
like yuck and and
Yeah. And for
sweaty.
anyone else, like we live in Texas and Arizona.
Oh,
So like,
yeah.
don't judge us. It's fucking hot. Like, period.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Like it's
serious.
100 degrees in October. That's what we're looking at right now.
I know what. Okay. Actually, I can't. Sorry. I won't. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that just like a train wreck of unexpected things, plus like a very uncomfortable outcome. I used to describe, before I had the language of like autism and autistic meltdown, I used to tell people, I'm like, it's like the schedule version of hangry. People be like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like if somebody puts something in my schedule that I'm not expecting,
Mm,
that I get like immediately
mm.
and disproportionately ragey about it.
Yeah. The other important thing to point out here is that there's the external response, which often isn't that strong. And then there's the internal response of a
Mhm.
melt. Like, and I think that's where in like my writing and the things we talk about, where what I'm trying to be more vocal about is like, there is so much happening inside that like, yeah. And so to someone else, I may seem like very calm, but inside I'm like, like,
I think
yeah.
about those little oh, what is that feelings movie and the little anger guy with the
Mm,
flame head? I'm like, I definitely have that like chaos running around. Like despair is like, it's gotta be the
yeah.
worst. And
I think for for me, when the external comes out is when I'm internally in that state and someone's trying to give me more input.
mm,
Like, so I'm internally trying to like, say I'm the one driving around trying to figure out what do I do, and if someone was like, well, maybe have you thought about blah 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 blah, and if they're like just throwing shit at me as I'm trying to think, like I get really upset and
yeah.
very rude, maybe is like I've at times just been like, can you shut up, or like, can
Mm,
you, I I like to own that I would like to work on that response,
but
but it is just like, just stop, let me, I can't take
right,
any more in.
right. And like we can own that maybe there's better ways to respond. Also, this is a recurring theme of being autistic, that there are things that take so much manual additional energy to like contain or override or focus or whatever it is. And when we're in that zone of like, I'm trying to contain a nuclear meltdown right now. So kindly, your
Yeah.
suggestions here. Like, I don't have the bandwidth to take care of this person and their feelings by saying something nice. Just gonna be like,
Right. Yeah. Well, and this is where it gets nuanced. Like, because for instance, that's how my dad was growing up, and I think my dad's autistic. And
mm,
uh as a child, the experience was like, oh my God, a lot of anger, being on eggshells. And like,
mm,
for me, sometimes it's hard to think about that. Like, both my dad and I are autistic, because I'm like, I don't want to give that lived experience to someone else. Like,
mm,
I know what it, and as a kid, since we didn't know he was autistic, I just always felt like my dad has anger problems and
mm.
it's so uncomfortable to be around him and blah blah blah. And like, I guess I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I meant it more like there's
Yeah,
multiple layers here.
absolutely. And I mean, there's this recurring theme, like again, having the experience of being late identified. Like I'm in my 40s and I learned a couple years ago. So like 4 decades of life went by without understanding this massive piece of my identity and how my brain and body operates. And like now I have the language to talk with people about, hey, here's what I need. Here's the boundaries. Here are like the bumper zones before we get to, meltdown.
Yes.
And if I say
Yeah.
like, hey, can I have quiet? I'm trying to think through this. Like I need that boundary respected so that I can do my thing and so that we can come out like, alive and not
Yeah. I
bathed.
like this bumper zone idea, because then it's like, if we operate in that zone, then we're not at the extreme where we're saying things
Mhm.
we regret, as well as hopefully in the bumper zone, the other person doesn't take it personally. Like if we've already had the conversations with them about this is how I operate,
Right.
then like if I'm with my friend and I'm like, hey, can we just have some quiet time? They know like, oh, this is Jackie in her space. This has nothing
Right.
to do with me. And then because sometimes here's the other problem when you have meltdowns and then behave in ways that hurt people's feelings. Not only do you have your meltdown, you then have the mess you've made. And like, and you have to fix both.
Hmm.
And like, bleh.
There's a lot of shame that can come with that. I'm like, I'm just messing everything up.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, and this is going dark really fast, but I do think this is why so many autistic people have struggled with suicidal ideation. And more,
Mhm.
what I mean is like the passive kind, where they're like, I don't think I'm ever going to get better. Is there any hope for me? And like it
Right.
can spiral down so fast because when you have another moment like that, you're like, oh my God, like I just keep fucking up. And like
Right.
it can, for me at least in the past, I could go to dark places really fast.
Yeah. Same. And I think about like during my time as a therapist, when I would work with couples, there's so many times when like people are on the same page, but they're using different language. And so there is this whole fight that happens that didn't necessarily need to happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and again, it's like when we have language for, hey, I'm being triggered by something else. I'm not being triggered by you.
Hmm.
And also, if you keep doing things, then you're going to be added to the trigger pile. Like, so
Yeah.
can you help me
Yeah.
out? I gotta manage this fire over here. Can you please like bring a fire extinguisher or at least not like be spraying gasoline in my direction?
Yeah.
Um,
And I'd
but
like
yeah.
to add, there are people willing to meet us at that level.
Hmm.
Like, like you as my friend are one of those people that like when we openly talk about these things, like I remember one time we were laughing about how we both monologue and that we can call each other out on it. I don't know that we ever have, but either way, it felt nice to
Hmm.
know that like, oh, like we can be who we are and still like support each other. And same as I develop new friendships, knowing I'm autistic,
Hmm.
I have been surprised that I've been able to find friends that are willing to like don't think it's a big deal to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. And set that context that like it's really challenging to me when I encounter people who like my therapist brain knows it's their trauma and their stuff that influences the assumptions that they make. But when I am like in the crosshairs and I'm doing or saying something and someone is making an assumption about me that I'm like rejecting them or being mean to them or that I just don't care, when I care a whole lot. I have an immense
yeah,
amount of caring, or I have an immense amount of feeling. It just like how they're interpreting it is not what was going on.
yeah,
Like if there's space to talk about it and people are open to receiving that, like,
yeah. But when you were in a meltdown, like as you were heading into a
right,
meltdown, it can often make it worse if the other person is taking it personally. And so then you're trying to attend to yourself and attend to them. And like it
right,
just like you tank faster.
right. Yeah. And yeah. And then, like you said, there's like multiple messes to clean up internally and externally and relationally.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just keep going back to like, wow, when we have the language for what's going on with ourselves, communication can become so much more accurate. And that's something I
Yeah.
talk about a lot. Like, it's not about like healthy communication or positive communication. It's really comes down to accurate communication. And I
Mm,
know a lot of autistic folks struggle with this because oftentimes we're more we can hear things and follow directions in a more literal sense. And so when someone asks us like, hey, what are you doing? I'm recording a talk show with my friend. Like, no, like this weekend, what are you doing? I'm like,
Oh,
but that wasn't your question.
that's so funny.
Asked
I
me
was
what
like,
I'm doing.
what else did they mean?
Right. Like sometimes it's hard for me to
Yeah.
come up with examples because I'm like, I don't know. But I've
Yeah.
definitely had those times where I'm answering the question that goes with the words that were asked, but the words that the person said are not aligned and accurate with what
Hmm.
the information they wanted to know.
Well, and this is making me think about how a lot of what you're talking about with accurate communication, there's like laying the groundwork for that. Like, hey, if we can talk about these things before they happen, that's even better. However,
Yes.
there are many, 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 many examples that like I can't preempt. And so it'd be
Right.
great in a space to be like, if you have a close friend, to be like, ha, this is one of those moments where like, this is a teaching moment. Well, maybe, I mean, I would not say those words, but like,
I probably would.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, but like, I go back to what you said about the bumper zone. I do think I can usually catch a bumper zone
Hmm.
if the other person is in a bumper zone with me to be able to
Right.
talk it.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Like the other person has to be like equally vested in like harmony, I guess, to be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm interested in working this out and I'm going to take my cues. And when you give a cue, I'm going to respect it and not keep pushing like, no, but no, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?
Oh God. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, that can drive me nuts. So when I'm in an overwhelmed spot and like someone's wanting to like process all that's like, this is not the process time. Like,
No.
like, yeah. And so I guess this is another good point with your meltdown story of driving around. Like if, let's say you hadn't found a parking spot, your choices then really do depend on who those people are that you were going to meet
Hmm.
and what relationship you have with them. In my instance, like if they were just kind of casual friends that they're, we're not talking bumper zones and shit, like like I might choose to go home then to be like,
Hmm.
who I am is not going to be pleasant to be around right now.
Hmm.
And there's not the space to articulate that or calm myself down. So the best choice here is to remove myself.
Right. And having people be able to understand again that like not interpreting that as a rejection, as a I don't care about things, I'm just flaking out.
Yeah, I
That's
actually care about you, so I'm not bringing myself around you.
right. Like I am doing this for you because I'm gonna be a whole pile of grumpiness and it's not gonna
Right?
be
And they'd
fun.
probably be like, Jen, what's wrong? And like, oh my God. Like,
Right, like out of good intentions, but
right?
just
Like, this
not.
is not to, exactly, it's not to say they're doing something wrong. They're not. But we just recognize what state we are in.
Mhm. And I think it can be difficult to like in that situation I was so close to just like I'm just gonna pull into one of these like I don't somebody's driveway or something and cry because I can't like handle what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And to try to articulate like I can't find a parking spot, so I'm gonna cry and then go home. Like that doesn't make sense to most people of
I
like,
know.
what is your problem? Like be an
I know.
adult and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think there's that element too of like sometimes I will just do this like, all right, fuck it, forget it, I'm not going. And I just shut down and I don't talk to anybody about it because I have all this shame and I am anticipating what people think about me and I don't know how to describe or talk about like, here's what happened. I just was not
Yeah.
able to
Well,
function anymore and I
because
had to
like
go home.
our response they might equate with something very very big like someone followed you or someone like something big and
Right.
instead we're like I to you it sounds like I just couldn't find a parking spot. So like, yeah, I do get that thing as well, that sometimes shame does come up, that I'm like, when someone wants to be supportive and there for me, I'm a little embarrassed about like, well, this is what led to that.
Yeah, because also, I don't know if this happens for you, but like when I'm out of meltdown stage, it also feels not significant to me. So I'm like,
So true.
fucking
So
Jen,
true. Yes.
get your shit
Like when
together.
I've calmed down, and often that's usually if I sleep for the night, and in the morning looking back, I'm just like, like it, yeah. And then especially if anyone was, oh no.
Finish your thought.
Oh. Well,
Especially if
especially
anyone.
if anyone was caught in the crosshairs of
Mhm.
me getting upset and I like acted in a way that wasn't appropriate, or well, maybe appropriate, I mean harmful to another human, then I'm
Yeah.
especially like, oh damn. Like, damn it. But at least I'm in a better space in the morning to handle it in a way that aligns with my values.
Yeah,
So,
I like that.
all right, I will conclude it
Okay.
there.